Welcome, sisters, to Return of the Priestess. My name is Dawn DelVecchio, and I am your host and facilitating priestess for this series. And it is a great joy to have you here with sisters from around the world. Before I introduce our guest today, let's begin with a grounding and centering. So if it's safe to do so, you can close your eyes. And I invite you to place one hand on the heart and one hand on your womb space for a few breaths together. So as you breathe in, allow the breath to bring that beautiful, luminous life force energy into your being, nourishing you fully, filling you with air. And then as you exhale, allow yourself to release the day, all that does not serve you, all that may distract. Just let it go. And again, breathing in to receive the gifts of this shared moment. And release to surrender all that you are ready to let go of. And breathing in to call in your guides, angels, master teachers, goddesses to support you in this time together. And as you release, you can open your eyes. It is a great joy to introduce you to a dear sister friend, a fellow priestess, and a woman of impeccable integrity today. Amrita Grace is someone I have collaborated with on a number of projects, and we have worked together for on and off on different things for several years now. And I can say from my heart that I deeply honor her work, helping women, facilitating women with sexual healing and empowerment, and doing some powerful and timely priestess work on the planet right now. So I want to share her official bio. Amrita Grace is a visionary leader in the feminine sexual empowerment movement. She's a high priestess ordained in 2003 and an award-winning best-selling author. She's the co-founder and director of the Sacred Feminine Mystery School, guiding spirit-led women into sexual sovereignty, authentic, embodied soul expression, and empowered feminine leadership. Amrita, my dear, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, Dawn. I couldn't be more delighted than to be sharing this precious, sacred space with someone who is as dear to me as you.
Thank you. Well, let's get started. So you have been in the world of feminine sexual healing and empowerment for a very long time. And you've had your finger on this pulse, we could say, of the rise of our sexual reclaiming and our sovereignty. So I would love for our listeners who aren't familiar with your work to understand more about your journey and the herstory of how you found yourself on this path.
Yes, absolutely. It's important for that to be shared because I've come a long, long way. And so honor the path that I've taken. So just as a child, I was sexually abused, as so many of us were. And that led me into sexual acting out as an adult. I went hypersexual, whereas a lot of women go the opposite direction. And I ended up self-diagnosing as a sex addict after 20 years of acting out. And when I went to seek my healing, like I'm just one of those people that's really committed, very devoted. When I make a decision, I move forward with that with full steam ahead. And I started to seek out healing paths. And I checked into 12-step and just did not feel a resonance with that path for myself. And I was so led at that point to a high priestess. And I didn't even know what that meant. But I was led to a circle of women and a priestess circle that eventually I was um, initiated into, and then eventually I was ordained. Now it's been 20 years since that healing path began. And I have just been so, so grateful for everything that led me to those steps on that path, because I really wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing now, the woman that I am now, without having experienced that abuse, the acting out, the two marriages that were trashed in the process, and all of the trail of destruction I left in my wake that I have now completely owned, completely forgiven myself for, and released all of the shame around. So it's been an amazing journey that I couldn't be more grateful for at this point.
Wow, wow, wow. What a story. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel that is going to resonate with a lot of women because there's been so much distortion in patriarchy around feminine sexuality. We've had to navigate that in all kinds of ways that don't serve us. And for some, it's denying it completely. For others, as yourself, acting it out. So thank you. Thank you. Your vulnerability is, as you know, the healing balm for so many. It's a liberation. Okay, so the title of our conversation today is Reclaim Your Priestess Superpower, Sexual Sovereignty. And that is really what we are shifting into now. So I would love for you to share with us your guidance on what sexual sovereignty is and why it's emerging as such an important topic right now.
Oh, absolutely. I would be happy to. And this word sovereignty has been coming up over the last few years, and it's really coming up strong now. And not just as a concept, but as a reality that so many of us are looking to embrace, and that I really want to educate women about, and I want to guide them towards. So as we discussed what the subject matter might be for this interview, Dawn, I took a real deep dive into sovereignty. And I started with, okay, what is the definition of sovereignty? And I know an older definition of it is a ruling class, a queen. A sovereign is a queen or king. But that's really kind of an outdated definition at this point. So the current definition is freedom from external control or controlling influence. So what that translates to is autonomy, freedom, independence, liberty, and self-governance of our own bodies and our own sexuality. And this is a key piece right now, that it's time for especially women, all people, but especially women, to claim. It is time for us to make our own decisions about our bodies and our sexuality, and to really claim that, which isn't always easy, because we've been told what to do for a very long time, and now we need to take full responsibility.
That's well put. And yeah, this piece about taking the responsibility, and that brings up something about this idea of the victim. And this is a delicate issue because yes, absolutely, when we don't have sovereignty and there's external controls on us, we experience the experience of victimization. And simultaneously, there's something about the times we're in right now that's asking us to take full ownership of all of it. And to me, this leads into, well, there's the thing about empowered leadership and the priestess role, certainly. But before we go there, I feel like we need to talk a little bit about the clearing out the trauma and the feminine sexual wounding, and really the eons of it, because somehow that feels like it ties in. It's like, as long as we're holding these fragmented pieces of wounding deep in our psyche collectively and individually, it's very hard to take full ownership. And it's very easy to fall back into victim inside the mind, inside the energy field, long after any events have taken place. So I'm wondering if you talk about this importance of clearing out these eons of trauma for our own, of our feminine sexual wounding, and
Oh,
why
absolutely.
now?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, absolutely. This is a really important piece of the conversation because until we access and clear what has been stored unconsciously in our bodies and in our energy fields, we really can't make those steps towards change and sovereignty and liberty that we desire, and ownership and responsibility. So really, it comes back down to this. What we are carrying within us in the realm of sexual wounding comes down through our lineages. It comes through past lives, and it's in the collective. And it's really in a society, that the kind of society that we live in right now, which really is a sexually wounded society that still has a lot of overlays of shame around sexual energy and sexuality. Nobody escapes it. Like, nobody escapes sexual wounding in this society in this day and age. From the time that very, very small children are exposed to the internet, are exposed to devices, are exposed to TV, movies, and the pornography that is so prevalent, these are the messages that we're getting. And so all of this that accumulates often in our first and second chakras, in the lower energy centers of our bodies. And there it lives, and there it stays. And until we have accessed and addressed this, we're still functioning from these embedded beliefs and these ancient wounds, some of which we aren't even accumulating in this lifetime. So we've got to make that space, create that spaciousness within us in order to create something new.
Beautiful. And what I have found, and I suspect you have too, is that when we do the work of the healing, what happens is we can really hear this piece about taking ownership of our energy. And before we do the healing, sometimes it can feel like someone saying, what do you mean I have to take ownership of this? I'm a victim of it. That the two, they're related to each other. As we do our inner healing work, as we clear out, sometimes incarnational, like you said, also lineage wounding, also the imprinting and conditioning and personal traumatic experiences in this incarnation, as we heal those, then we really understand and know how to be embodied, how to come in fully and say, yes, I take responsibility for all of it. Not to say it was my fault that this, that, or the other happened, but that I own my energy. Does that relate
Yeah,
to?
absolutely.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just use a little excerpt from my own story for this to give a good example, which is that I was a victim of childhood sexual abuse. Of course, I was a victim. I was a child. This was one of my caretakers. I had no choice in the matter. I was threatened with my life and things like that. And over the course of my healing path, I was slowly but surely able to claim that as part of my soul's path. As I even said in the beginning in my story, that I wouldn't be who I am today without all of that having happened. But it's a process, this coming from victim to full responsibility, and it's a lifelong process. This isn't something that we're just, it's not going to be at some point done, because it's part of our human experience. It's really what we're here to learn and to gain, is to really come so deeply into our soul self that we understand the bigger picture, that we opted into all of these experiences in this life, that we made soul contracts with people who are probably most challenging and triggering for us, and including those who may have been our abusers. And as we can see that bigger picture, and it takes a lot of healing to get there, then we can truly begin to own the idea that everything that is happening in our experience is a mirror of who we are on the inside.
Mm, beautifully put. And yeah, it is. It's about coming to the soul perspective, seeing it not from the personality of the child who was wounded, but seeing the greater narrative of the soul's evolutionary journey through this lifetime. So thank you for articulating that in such a gracious way. So now, assuming then we get to the place where we're in some ownership, we feel more of our empowered self, regardless of the stories and circumstances of our lives. How can we then begin to work with our sexual energy as a source of health, vitality, magic, creation, and also abundance?
Wow, so that's a really great question. And I have to have a big smile on right now because there's so much juice here. Our sexual energy is our life force energy. This is what creates life. And we want full access to it, which really takes addressing and clearing the old stuff that's stored. But when we have full access to it, we have the opportunity to really feed and nourish ourselves and take our experience of this life to a whole new level of creativity and expansion and joy, and that abundance too, because that abundance piece comes in when we learn how to receive. And it doesn't have to be about making a ton of money. Abundance comes in many forms, and money is one of them. But I've learned that receiving is where the key to abundance, being able to receive. And we're just not taught that growing up. We're not taught how to receive, we're taught to give, that giving is better, that it's as it should be. And so there's really an opportunity to acknowledge our incredible power as creators when we are having full access and running our life force energy. And again, just to give a little example here, a few years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I absolutely laughed when I got the diagnosis because I knew that this was simply a step on my path. It wasn't a ticket off the planet. And I knew exactly why I received the diagnosis. And I had all these incredible tools and access to my life force energy, and using the best of all kinds of medicine, natural, allopathic, everything I could get my hands on, using the best of all of it, including my life force energy, I went from diagnosis to cancer-free in less than 3 months. And in 6-7 years later now, almost 7 years, still incredibly healthy, more vibrant than I've ever been, and more energy than I've ever had in my entire life. Not to mention having drawn an incredible, beloved relationship into my life 12 years ago that is still as amazing as the day that I laid eyes on him.
Yes, and I've had the great pleasure of basking in the energy of you and Apollo together. And it is really a beautiful thing. You make a beautiful home and a wonderful, nourishing space. And your story, and of course, I've heard your story and know it's an extraordinary story of diagnosis to recovery to full empowerment again, and really speaks to that vital life force energy and how much it is flowing in you. And I've even referred other sister friends to you who have been diagnosed with breast cancer for that very reason. So thank you for sharing a bit about that. So now my next question is, what are the steps, and I realize that you may just be able to touch on these right now, but what are some of the steps to accessing the full measure of our life force energy so we can step into this empowered feminine leadership role? Whether we call ourselves a priestess or simply are embodying that feminine energy, life force energy, to move forward in some capacity of leadership, leading our lives, leading others, leading businesses, leading families.
Yes, yes, yes. So the steps. Um, let's see. So here's the steps that I would give you. The first step would be to come to terms with the idea that we all carry sexual wounding. Even if you don't think that you've been sexually wounded in any way, maybe you had a great childhood, you were never molested or anything like that, we all carry sexual wounding. At the very, very, very least, think about our mothers, our grandmothers, and our great-grandmothers, and what has been passed down from them into us, at the very least, and the past lives and the things that we've experienced as women before now in these incredibly empowered times. So that would be the first step. The second one, I would say, take steps towards embodiment and feeling what's been unconsciously stored away in your body. That would be the second step. And the third, learn and use tools to move the emotional energy that is stored in your body. And it's absolutely possible to do this with ease and grace. You don't necessarily have to reprocess or think through or talk through things. Certainly in the work that I offer, there's no need for that whatsoever. It's about moving energy. And so much of this stuff that's stored, it doesn't even have stories attached to it anymore. It's just energy that needs to move. Come into full integrity with your sexual energy. And so that means being fully aware of how you use it and how you abuse it. And doing whatever it takes to use it wisely, to use that life force energy wisely. We are, again, not taught how to do this well. We're not taught how to manage our sexual energy so that we can use it in the right ways and for the right reasons. So we need to teach ourselves that or learn from an appropriate guide or leader. And really, this would be my next step, would be to get the appropriate support, guidance, and leadership to help assist you in the process. You do not have to do this alone. And I can attest over and over again to the power of doing sexual healing work in a circle of women. It's like rocket fuel for healing.
Yes, and I've been witness to that and held space for that, and it really is extraordinary, the potency and the magic that happens. As we know, when women gather and become authentic, and certainly in the realm of sexual healing, the safety that can be created there with the right facilitator and the right container. So I want to touch on this moving the energy and versus talk therapy. Now, I suppose there are still times where talk therapy is important, but like you said, sometimes there isn't even a story anymore. It's just we're in the process of clearing out old stuff to create space for the new world we want to create. And that's part of our role as priestesses, to be as clear channel vessels as possible to serve in whatever capacity it is. So the moving of energy is one of the areas that I know is your expertise, one of many. And I know you have a very juicy process to share with us today with regard to moving the energy. So I'm going to just give you the floor now and let you tell us a little bit about it and then guide us through.
Absolutely. Thank you. So the process that I will be sharing with you today is a guided visualization to connect with your life force energy. And it's called Lighting a Fire Under the Cauldron. So if you are in a place where you can close your eyes, turn off your phone, a quiet place where you can really drop into this visualization, I invite you to do so. And as you feel your feet and feel your seat, feel your grounding to the earth, the body of our Mother Gaia. And I want to invite you now to let your awareness drop out of the mental realms, the listening space, and begin to drop more deeply into your body. And I want to invite you also to begin to deepen and slow down your breath. And let these two pieces, dropping your awareness into your body and slowing and deepening your breath, let them support each other. So that as you inhale, your awareness drops deeper. And as you exhale, it drops even more deeply. Down your central channel, past your throat, your heart, and allowing and inviting your awareness to drop all the way down to your belly, your second chakra, and now into the area of your first chakra, tailbone, perineum, anal region, and just let your awareness be in that space right now for a moment. And imagine that space as a gas burner, like maybe the kind that you would take camping, a big cast iron gas burner. And that above that sits your pelvic bowl, the cauldron that is your pelvic bowl. This is a place of great magic and alchemy, this pelvic bowl. This is a place where creativity happens, where life is conceived and gestated and birthed from. This is the place of creativity and so much more. Continuing now to allow your breath to be slow and deep. Imagine now that you can turn a dial just a tiny little bit to start that fire in the burner underneath your cauldron. Just a tiny little bit, just to test the waters or test the fire, you might say. And see how that feels. Just notice how that feels underneath the cauldron of your womb space, your belly, your genitals, your lower back, this whole pelvic bowl. Notice if something starts to move in your cauldron. And just be with it. Just be with whatever wants to emerge and arise in your cauldron. If you feel like you want to, you can turn the flame up just a little bit more. And this is really up to each individual person, how much they want to turn that up and get things stirring and moving in this cauldron. Staying deep and slow with your breath. If there's something that you feel starting to want to emerge from this space, like steam rising from a cauldron simmering, breathe into it. Consider it to be energy that's ready to move. And with your exhale, let it go. And if you can, give it a sound. If you're in a place where you can make a sound, you're going to add so much power to that energy movement by giving it a sound. Ah, even if it's just a hum, whatever sound you want to make. So just noticing now Do you need to turn that flame down a little bit? If you do, that's okay. Knowing that this is a process and a visualization that you can do anytime to start to invite some movement in this area of your cauldron, your pelvic bowl. And as the steam rises from that cauldron and that you access that energy, that you can use your breath and sounds to release it. And it is through these sounds, these primal sounds, or these universal sounds like ah, that we bypass the mind and the mental realms and the words and just let these primal energies be released. You don't need to know anything about them. You don't need to have any story about them. You may get a flash of a memory, but that's okay. You don't need to dwell on it. Just let it go and breathe. Ah. So letting your awareness now come back to the burner. And if you feel ready to turn that burner off, go ahead and turn it off. If that's good enough for now, just for this sampling of this process, knowing that you have access to this anytime, that you can take a few moments to be just with you in a quiet space, close your eyes and visualize the burner, the flame, and the cauldron of your womb, your belly, your genitals, your first and second chakra, your cauldron. This is yours, all yours. And what's there, what's stored there, is also yours. And you have the opportunity and the responsibility to do whatever it takes to begin to access and release this. Get the help and support that you need. I really urge you to not do this by yourself unless you already have the tools and the knowledge and the understanding of how this energy can move. So taking one more deep breath and filling that cauldron now with the air element. Letting your belly push out with your next breath. Putting your hands on your belly, on your womb space if you can. Bringing your own soothing touch to you. And letting this space know that you will come back again to dive in some more to this process as you feel ready. And make sure that you feel grounded, connected to the earth, feeling your seat and your feet. And now letting your awareness fill your entire body as you open your eyes if they were closed, and just noticing how you feel and if you feel different in this moment.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you. I'm actually having some Kundalini activation. So I'm like, it was good to put the element of air in there at the end because I'm like, how am I going to talk? I'm so activated. Thank you. Wow, gorgeous. That is a beautiful meditation. Thank you. So, wow, there's so many more things we can talk about, and I'm sure we will on other occasions. And for now, Amrita, for the sisters who listen to this and really resonate with your energy and your work, how can they find out more about you and receive your beautiful gift that you have for them?
Oh, yes, yes. So the gift that I offer will take this process to the next level and the next level and the next level. It's called Ignite Your Sacred Feminine Fire. So it will absolutely build on this process and this visualization that we just did. And you'll have the opportunity through three videos, it's a 3-video series, to, to go to the next process, the next step in the process, and then to take steps following that to really start getting access to your life force, sexual, healing, creative, amazing, invigorating energy. That's all yours. And it's free. It's like, it's yours. And you can have access to it. So I want to really help you along that path. And you can get access to that at my website, which is sacredfeminischool.com/gift. sacredfeminischool.com/gift. And I really hope you thoroughly enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. I can speak to that because I've been through the 3-video series and practice those exercises. Again, more Kundalini activation when I do them. So thank you. Thank you, Amrita. It's always a joy to connect with you and to serve our sisters in a co-creative priestess way. It's really one of my life's great blessings to share with sister friends and with wisdom keepers such as yourself. So I really appreciate your taking the time to come onto this call and bring forth some of these gifts.
Oh, Dawn, yeah, it is also such a divine pleasure for me to collaborate with you in particular, and especially in contribution to women who resonate with the archetype of the priestess and who are really ready to step onto the path of empowered feminine leadership. I know that that is what we are both here to facilitate and assist. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much, Amrita, and I hope many women come to visit you at your site and take advantage of your free gift. And sisters, for those of you who are watching, I hope you've enjoyed this, and be sure to watch all of the interviews in the series. We have so much to share with you. Thank you for being here. It's an honor and a pleasure to be able to gather in a global sisterhood, to lift as we rise, and to heal and support each other as we step into our priestess power and walk this sacred awakening path. Many blessings, and thank you.